Hey guys, welcome back to J&J MMA. Real quick, I just want to cover the main card of UFC Fight Night, Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi. I'm going to put timestamps down in the description for each fight if you just want to skip to specific ones. Real quick, before I get to the main card, I want to give a couple shout-outs to the prelims. Shout out to Youssef Zalal. He destroyed Jack Shore. Round one, it was a back and forth affair, but then round two, man, he landed a beautiful knee to the face of Jack Shore. Swarmed him, ended up getting a choke. He had a pretty passionate post-fight speech. It was the first finish of the night, and it was really nice to see. So shout out to him. Also, shout out to Charles Jourdain, dude. He had a beautiful technique the whole fight against Victor Henry. Victor was giving up a decent fight, but Jourdain was piecing him up, man, hitting him with combinations. There were times that Henry would get Charles on the ground, but he would just go for subs or end up getting back to his feet. Round two, man, Henry ended up getting on his back. He was going for chokes. But then Charles was sitting there defending with the hands. And eventually Charles got wrapped around him, dude. He stands up, locks in a fucking choke, dude. Drops to the ground. And, dude, Henry couldn't do shit. It was over. Like, Charles destroyed him with that choke. And I loved that finish. So I was happy to see him, get the win. I like both those guys. But it was just nice to see him see Charles thriving in a new division. You know what I'm saying? So it was a fun way to start off the prelims, beyond the other fights. But we're going to move on to the opening of the main card. It was Malott versus Trevin Giles. Guys, this was the definition of a safe fight. Like, Malott, a lot of people are like, oh, he's known for his power, he swings crazily, da-da-da. Dude, he played it safe. And I'm not saying it was a bad thing. It was bad for the fans, but good for him, And the thing is, it's fucked up about it, is Trevin let him have the safe fight. He let Mike lead the dance. Mike landed like double the amount of hits than Trevin did. I believe he had like twice the output. Trevin really didn't do much himself. It was just a boring, safe fight. And that's really all I can say about it. So Mike got the W. Good for him, after he suffered his first loss. And I guess we'll see if he continues to have boring fights from here. Next fight is Marc-Andre Barriault, I believe you say his name, versus Dustin Stoltzfus. Now, DC went on about bad judging from a previous card for a good 15-20 seconds, it felt like, at the beginning of this fight, and it threw me out. We're going to talk more about DC here in a little bit. But Barriault fell after a kick and was just immediately smothered by Stoltzfus. That was it. He was smothered by him. Stoltzfus kept going for submissions, kept trying to, just work the ground game. Eventually, they stood up. And as soon as they stood up, they started swinging. And commentary was like, oh, this is Barriault's wheelhouse. And then, bam, dude, Stoltzfus got him, landed, and just slept him. Like he was out cold. It was a beautiful, beautiful knockout. Felt bad for Mark. But Dustin fucking got it. Good on him. And it was nice to actually see a goddamn finish. Moving on to the next one, guys. It was Lipski versus Davicius. Davicius? Yeah. Okay, we're going to talk about DC for a second, guys. This motherfucker from the start of round one, if you look at the fight clock, from 4:42 to 3:29, there are some pauses in between. But from that whole time frame, over a fucking minute, it's nothing but DC's voice. He kept talking, dude. And I know that's his job as a commentator, but it's a 3-man booth. We got 2 other voices, and all I can hear is fucking Peanut Head. And it's just, okay, DC. It really threw me out of the fight. Like, guys, I didn't even pay attention around one of this fight because I was just so stuck on the fact that DC talked for so fucking long. But towards the end of round 2, Jasmine was sitting there hitting her with blatant illegal back of the head shots that the ref really didn't give a fuck about, so we just let that pass. And then round 3, she did her thingy thing, got her on the ground, hit her with a Darce choke. So, yeah, shout out to Jasmine for getting the win. And fuck you, DC. Now, guys, the next fight, it was Caio Machado versus Brendson Ribeiro. Now, it was a slow fight at first. There was a cup shot in round 1. I feel like Ribeiro was landing more powerful shots. He's also doing more combinations, especially towards the first part of the fight. Guys, when I was watching this, I ended up kind of zoning out a little bit during this fight. And in the moment, I was like, oh yeah, Ribeiro won that. I don't see why it was a split, he deserved that. I go back and look at the stats, dude, and Machado landed like twice the amount of significant strikes. I know that's not everything in a fight, but I feel like he did have more output. But maybe it was just in one specific round. I don't know, guys. I tuned out of this fight. But these next two I definitely paid attention to, so we'll get to those. We're going to get to the co-main event of the evening, guys. It was Erin Blanchfield versus Rose Namajunas. So, guys, this fight overall was a back and forth, but it just reaffirmed that Rose has no ground game. None what's to speak of. You know, she had her moments, you know, she even took a couple of rounds in my opinion, but I did feel like Erin did more to win the fight. You know, she ended up getting 2 takedowns, and when she did, especially on the first one, dude, Rose just kind of let her lay on her, dude. Just let her just wet blanket her for like over like 2 minutes type shit. And there wasn't really much action in that much sense, you know? But then when they were on the feet, there was action. Like, you know, they were both throwing, they were both landing decent combinations. I felt like Rose kept leaning into some of Erin's shots. Like, Erin would throw a shot, and then, you know, Rose would like go back to dodge it, but then she'd lean forward and Erin would hit her with a second one. So, you know, sometimes it was to her detriment, you know what I mean? But, you know, overall the fight was fun when, you know, Erin wasn't just, you know, holding her up against the cage type shit. But, I definitely feel like Erin deserved the win. I don't think there's any controversy in that. You know, Rose is a good fighter, but, you know, she's been fighting for a fat minute, you know, so it's nice to see some of these other girls on the come up. You know, I'm not a super Rose fanboy or anything like that, but it was a good fight. So congrats to both those women, and congrats to Erin for getting the W. All right, guys, we're going to talk about the main event of the evening. It was Brendon Moreno versus Amir Albazi. So, guys, I have a lot to say about this fight, but really not a lot to say at all. You know, round one, they're going pretty back and forth with the strikes. I feel like Brendon was getting the upper hand. But going forward, dude, the whole fight was just Brendon. Like, Brendon was sitting there hitting them with like 3-4 combinations. He was hitting nice body shots, especially in round 3. And, you know, by round 3, Amir's face was just cut up and just looked fucked up. And, you know, Brendon just kept laying it on him, dude. Like, he was just swarming him. And, you know, by the end of the fight, Brendon had 132 significant strikes. I believe Amir had like 63. Like, it was a big difference. You know, Amir did just come back from a couple of surgeries. You know, he was, I think one was like a back surgery where he's almost paralyzed or something to that extent. But, you know, Brendon has just come to prove that he is the Max Holloway of this division. You know, he keeps losing to the champ. He's also lost to other Brendon. But he has not dropped to anyone else. And he fucking pieced up Amir for a good 25 fucking minutes. You know, Amir did land like 1 or 2 takedowns at certain points, but it didn't really do shit in the grand scheme of things. This fight was Brendon's. I really don't have much to add to it. You know, he basically destroyed for 25 minutes, like I said. So guys, let me know what you thought of the fights this weekend. They really weren't super eventful, but there was some highlights. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch y'all on the next video. Peace.